It's not fair. And I shouldn't be using that much because I just everybody knows so freaking
Three, I think. I've never thought that was February.
And I think we have to keep thinking about what's best for our city. And I don't think this would not be happening. This is all happening because I
I'm not sure I'm there with you 100%. Listen, and I don't. I don't. But do I think she did a poor job? No, I don't. I think she did a fine job. I do.
As a captain of the fire department.
Yeah, I know. That's actually a very appropriate topic for you.
I've already notified Blaha. I just sent him a note.
You what?
That you.
He didn't say much.
That's contact.
I got one question. Is that with you? He just kind of went away?
Well,
I am glad you're here.
it was really helpful.
So far, I'm really happy with everything. I hear we're going to have a county mayor. Daryl told me that.
Because I want my house protected.
I said king. That's funny.
So I'm junior.
I
So
know.
that's
I know.
awesome.
Congratulations.
I get to be your eminence junior.
It's awesome.
Wouldn't that be a great title to have? I got to be.
You'll get a crown.
Just whatever you need, just talk to Tyler Stevens. He's I'm his body double.
Whenever I do anything wrong, my name is Mark Waller. Because people are confusing us left and right, so I'm just sprinkling it out there whenever I do something really jerky or something. I'm Mark Waller.
I think that's smart. I'm going to decide to the transportation.
She's back. Gal in the front row there? Gal in the front row, eco-scientist.
Citizen scientist.
She is?
She's a regular at County Commission, El Paso County, and also city.
Every single meeting. He's here to listen today. Working on a calculation. We got the money set. We've got the money set, but we're working on a contract. The money's in the
Good morning, all. Welcome back to the meeting. We have come out of executive session, and for the record, no decisions were made, and moving forward. So, introduce around Andy Pico from Colorado Springs.
Norm Stain, Taylor County Commissioner.
Jill Gabler, City of Colorado Springs.
Tyler Stevens, Green Mountain Falls.
Bill Murray, Colorado Springs.
Sally Clark, El Paso County Commissioner.
Turner Smith, Town of Raymond.
Morning, Pat Carley, U.S. Air Force Academy, 10th Air Base Wing.
John Doucette, Peterson Air Force Base, 21st Space Wing.
Robin Slade, 50th Space Wing, Schriever Air Force Base.
Daryl Glenn, El Paso County Commissioner. I want to make one brief announcement. I have to leave at 11:30, but this will be my last meeting. I'm not. It's like, oh, where you go, Commissioner. Well, as you're probably aware, we're having a big changeover with our board, and I personally want to acknowledge Sally Clark and Commissioner Heisey. When you think about the institutional knowledge that we're going to leave, they're going to be hard to replace. So I personally want to thank you for what you've done. Commissioner Peggy Littleton is going to be taking my spot. I'm going to be moving to the chair, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time trying to train up our new commissioners. So I want to make sure that people are aware that the county is going to be in good hands, but you're going to see Commissioner Littleton here taking my particular position. But it's been truly an honor. I think I've been around since 2004 on City Council and even as a commissioner. But this will be my last meeting, but I will still be around. So you'll see a lot of Commissioner Waller, Commissioner Littleton, and then yet to be named and fought over a third position. You just don't know what you want.
Mark Waller, County Commissioner.
Peggy Littleton, County Commissioner.
Neil Levy, Woodland Park.
Mark Andrews, CDOT Region 2, filling in for Karen Rowe.
Rob McDonald, PPACG.
Bruce Davis, City of Victor. Welcome, Bruce.
Oh, welcome.
Yay!
Dennis Heisey, El Paso County.
How's the weather up there?
Cold. Okay, and I want to recognize Representative Lee and Senator Merrifield. Anybody else missed? Okay.
I'm well represented today.
I would beg the indulgence of everyone to be very expeditious in our comments today. We did go a little bit longer than planned on the executive session, so we'll try to step through quickly, so we don't hold up the next meeting that comes around. So next up, approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public comments. We've got a resolution of appreciation for El Paso County Commissioner Sally Clark and Dennis Heisey, and I should have that somewhere around here.
Should be in the packet. There it is.
I think it was in there.
Here it is. I got it.
Moving right along.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll have to have Commissioner Glenn back for a repeat so we can do the same thing here and embarrass him thoroughly. Whereas El Paso County is a member of government of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, and whereas El Paso County has representatives serving on the various committees of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, and whereas Sally Clark served as El Paso County Commissioner from 2005 through 2016 and represented El Paso County as Treasurer in 2009, as Second Vice Chair in 2010, as Chair in 2011 and 2012, and as Secretary in 2013 for the Board of Directors. Whereas Sally Clark has served as Commissioner of El Paso County and the Pikes Peak region in an exemplary manner for the maximum number of years as allowed by law. And whereas Sally Clark led the efforts from the board level to increase funding for the U.S. 24 corridor projects, including the I-25 Cimarron Interchange Project, the Rainbow Falls Bridge Project, and the West Side Avenue Action Plan Infrastructure Improvement Project. And whereas the December 2016 Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Board of Directors meeting is her final meeting as a member of the PPACG Board of Directors. Now, Be it therefore resolved, the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Board of Directors wishes to acknowledge their deepest gratitude to Commissioner Sally Clark for her commitment to the regional planning and collaboration and for her dedication to the advancement of the PPACG organization. Resolved, approved, and adopted by the Board of Directors of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments this 14th day of December 2016, Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to say it's, I don't think when I was on city council previously that I realized the importance of Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments until I became a county commissioner and realized that this is how a lot of the big projects get prioritized and things really get done here. So I want to thank my colleagues, current and past. Certainly we miss Jim Ignatius, who I got to know pretty well, and Wayne Williams and others who were on the board when I first took office, and Commissioner Heisey and I did in 2005. But this is a really important board. I'm encouraged to see the military folks here as well on a regular basis. I think it makes for just better conversation to share what's going on in our region. And while I'm moving off the Board of Commissioners, I'm not going anywhere. So don't. You may see me occasionally here in citizen comment if that's something that is needed, and I would certainly consider taking a position to be an alternate on STAC if that's something that you think would be helpful. But I do want to stay involved in what's going on here in our region, and I've still got some projects that we're working on. I just asked Mark about that today, the Rainbow Falls project, and we broke ground on the West Side Avenue Action Plan what was it, Monday, and so that's very exciting. So thank you all for your support and the many projects from I-25 widening, which needs obviously widening even some more, but from the north part down to the many projects that I've had a privilege of taking part in as both in leadership and a member of the board. So thank you all for your support over the years. Thanks. I would love to get a picture with the entire executive committee too, so if that would be appropriate. Jen, could you take a picture? Oh, sure. There's my phone. That would be great. Looks like it's ready to go.
Amen.
Am I red? Problem is now I don't have an office to hang this in. So.
Put it on the front of your, bed and breakfast or something.
Okay, next one. Whereas El Paso County is a member of the government of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, and whereas El Paso County has representatives serving on the various committees of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, and whereas Dennis Heisey served as El Paso County Commissioner from 2005 through 2016 and represented El Paso County as first vice chair in 2011 and 2012, as chair in 2013 and 2014, and as treasurer in 2015 and 2016 for the Board of Directors. Whereas Dennis Heisey has served as a Commissioner of El Paso County and the Pikes Peak region in an exemplary manner for the maximum number of years allowed by law. And whereas Dennis Heisey served as the lead board member for PPACG as part of the multi-year Fort Carson growth plan, leading to transportation improvements for the Gate 20 interchange at I-25, State Highway 115 safety improvements, as well as improvements on State Highway 83. And whereas Dennis Heisey served as the lead board member for PPACG as part of the widening of Powers Boulevard to 6 lanes, including acceleration-deceleration lanes between Fountain Boulevard and Woodman Road. Whereas the December 2016 Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Board of Directors meeting is his final meeting as a member of the PPACG Board of Directors. Now be it therefore resolved, the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Board of Directors wishes to acknowledge their deepest gratitude to Commissioner Dennis Heisey for his commitment to regional planning and collaboration and for his dedication to the advancement of the PPACG organization. Resolved, approved, and adopted by the Board of Directors of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments this 14th day of December 2016 at Colorado Springs.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I've described myself as something of a late bloomer, probably slow bloomer is probably closer. It took me a while at PPACG to really figure out how the system works and how things were intertwined. I would like to point out that PPACG is so much more than just a transportation organization. As a member of the Fountain Valley Senior Center, of their board. Actually, I do qualify as a member. I haven't paid my $20, but the area agency on aging, they're critical to this region, not just the county, but the region. PPACG is involved in so many other things besides transportation, even though that takes up most of our time at these board meetings. But the value of PPACG, and it works behind the scenes, doesn't get a lot of headlines. Occasionally somebody will be quoted on a transportation project, but the value of PPACG cannot be underestimated. So thank you all for your participation and for allowing me to serve.
From the city of Fountain, I think the one thing that the citizens would highlight of your career, Dennis, would be the quiet the train through the security in the wide field areas. I think that probably is a great benefit to that area, and thank you. And then also for helping us get Highway 85 restriped. When CDOT came in, they called it Stripe and Run, and you helped us get that straightened out too. So thank you very much for those two things. I think that to the average citizen is what they're seeing. It's affecting their everyday life. Thank you.
Okay.
If we could do the same
The same picture?
get the executive board here. Just Photoshop your face in there for sound. Probably not. Your dress wouldn't look good. Thank you.
One more.
Up, sure. One for sure.
This one's for the post office.
Hold up the memo.
Thank you, Mel. Yes,
Okay, we have this part of the agenda is for public comments for topics not on the current agenda. Come on up.
Meininger, community advocate, citizen scientist. I look forward in this next year coming here on a regular basis. This year in January, has a lot of turnover both at the federal level and the community levels and county levels. I'm hoping that we will have a better agenda in the future for things that have been going very, very wrong, not only here in cities, county, and communities with things like the wind turbine and the fracking and water contamination. We need something better than plausible deniability protocol that I have seen too often at all levels of our government. And that's frustrating. And then using our military as a smokescreen or a convenient scapegoat makes me very, very sad. I hope that changes in the future. I hope January brings a lot of changes. Two things that are on my agenda. One is nobody's perfect, but there should be accountability at every level. Definition of accountability, this was by a member of the Air Force. Holding people responsible for their actions appropriate to their authority within the realm of their responsibility. And integrity is choosing your thoughts and actions based on values rather than personal gain. I expect that of myself. I expect that of our government. And that is all levels of government. And that's what I will be focusing on in this next year.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have one thing by Mike.
Yes.
I did pass out, I don't know if there were enough copies for everyone, but a letter that went to the Douglas County Commissioners from the Board of County Commissioners regarding I-25 north, the Gap. So I wanted to pass this out, and I know our county engineer, also the TAC chair, Jennifer Irvin, asked for a resolution to be included in the board packet, but it, for some reason, didn't get included in this month. I would ask that the board consider doing a resolution at the next PPACG meeting, basically stating their support for this project. We don't know how we're going to pay for it, but I think it's important to keep it at the top of the list. And this letter did go out to the governor and was copied to all of our delegation members at the state as well as in Congress. And I want to thank our state representative and senators back here have promised their support, as well as I got quite a few responses from our other state folks that they would do whatever they can to assist us with this. So I just wanted everyone to have a copy and suggest that the board consider a resolution at the next board meeting to make this our top priority.
Sounds good. Add that to the next month's agenda, if you would.
Yeah, it'll be on the agenda. If you want to preview, the TAC tomorrow has a version of a draft agenda or draft resolution for you to look at now, if you'd like.
Okay. And then just a second thing, a State of the Region address will be tomorrow. So I'd like to invite any of you who haven't already registered. You can go online at the Regional Business Alliance or Chambers website, and that will be a luncheon tomorrow that we'll be talking about updates as what's going on in our county and our region. Thank you.
Where's that at, Sally?
At the Antlers.
Okay. Seeing none other, next item up is the consent item. Entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Any question? Yes. Okay, you have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think the ayes have it. With the board's indulgence, I'd like to jump to the reports and take our military installation reports. I understand our military members kind of have to get back on the road.
Sure, I appreciate that. So, Colonel Pat Carley, Air Force Academy. Just a couple quick updates. First, the cadets are in finals this week, over 4,000 of them. They'll be concluding this Friday, and then the mass exodus will begin away from town for a few weeks. Classes will resume on Wednesday, the 4th of January for the cadets. On the sporting front, thank you very much for the support for the 6 home football games we had this season. And the Air Force Falcons made the Arizona Bowl, which is the 30th of December. But there's still 26 other NCAA Division I sports teams at the Academy. So over the coming weeks, there are a few women basketball games at home and some men basketball games at home. And I have the dates and a website available if anyone would like to ask me the specifics later. And then finally, I just really appreciate the progress that's been made on the JLUIS initiatives over the past months. We had the policy meeting a few weeks ago, and lots of progress. Thank you very much for that. And that's right. So there was a little Army-Navy football game.
Let's not bring up the Navy, okay?
This past week.
Let's just forget this year.
That game was inconsequential because we already had the Commanders-in-Chief trophy wrapped up.
How long has it been since Army beat Navy? A very long time.
I'd say it was rigged. Same time next year, that's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Colonel John Doucette, representing Peterson Air Force Base and the 21st Space Wing. First of all, I'd like to thank the community for including 21st Space Wing, Peterson Air Force Base in all of your holiday celebrations. We certainly enjoy the great relationship and the opportunity to celebrate the holidays with you in a public setting. My understanding is Colonel Dormany provided an update on the PFOA, PFOS situation last month, including a promise to update this board every month on new developments. So we continue to work with the Colorado Springs utilities on the situation. We provided them with a report in terms of how we arrived at the evaporation conclusion. Additionally, there's no change in our timeline for the test results for the water samples. We have update or disconnected and plugged the fire pit plumbing works that connect the evaporation pit to the sewer system to prevent any inadvertent discharge from the pit. We are also continuing to work with the Headquarters Air Force on a transition to the new Air Force fire or the firefighting foam. The hangars are, the trucks are complete. The hangars are not. So we continue to work with Colorado Springs Utility in the event there is a discharge within the hangars to prevent any contamination caused by that. So pending any questions from the board, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Colonel.
Sure.
I'd just like to mention one thing. Next week, we have the Chief of Staff of the Air Force come visit us at Schriever Air Force Base. He's doing a tour of bases where folks do a 24/7 mission. So he will come and visit some of our satellite operators, some of our security forces guys, and just spend an afternoon talking to folks who will be on duty over the holidays. He's going to visit several bases. I think Schriever is the only one on the Front Range, and then some in other areas of the country. So we look forward to hosting him next week. And thanks to everybody in the community. It's been a great year for us. We look forward to continuing to work together next year.
I have one really important question. We're going to have Santa Tracker going on the 24th?
Yes, we are.
Okay, all righty. And what is that? How did the kids get to Santa Tracker again?
Yeah, NORA.org.
NORA.org. Okay. I mean, you got to have priorities.
Absolutely.
No? That's right.
Opportunities to be a tracker?
I believe that there are. Let me get back to you on the process for that.
Yeah, there are. I think they've done most of the signups already. I'll actually be there on Christmas Eve from 2 to 4. So if you have any grandkids that you need to, gently explain to them why there are no hatchlings under the tree this year or something like that, have them give us a call. So I think that's like the big toy this year, and it's impossible to get anymore. So.
A what?
It's a hatchling.
Hatchling.
I still remember having hatchling.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on, coming back to the action items. Item 6A, Academy Water and Sanitation District Lift Station. In the interest of time, if you'd be very expeditious, please. We have quite a few action items.
I'm Peter Gillespie. I work here.
You work here.
You said be brief. The Academy Water and Sanitation District is proposing to essentially close their existing wastewater treatment facilities and replace its operation by taking their effluent into the Denali system and ultimately to the Upper Monument Creek wastewater treatment facility. Before us, the particular site application is to install a lift station which will take the lion's share of the wastewater that presently goes into the existing wastewater treatment facility. To get to the Denali system, it has to be pushed up and over a hill, some elevation and a bit of a distance. The project has been reviewed by PPACG's Site Application Review Committee pretty extensively. We went through a lot of detail. Subsequently, then, by our Water Quality Management Committee, and then a couple weeks later, just last week, in fact, by our Community Advisory Committee. All three groups, including the Community Advisory Committee, asked good and detailed questions. They were addressed by the engineer, Mark Morton of GMS Engineering, who is here. If you have any specific questions, he'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, the project looks good to our committees and to me as staff, as Environmental Program Manager, and so I respectfully ask that the board consider this project and approve of it.
Trustee Smith?
Does this involve any reuse?
No.
Move approval. Second. Any final comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. PPACG, Area Agency on Aging Carryover Funding Allocation.
Joe Urban, Area Agency on Aging. You've got a spreadsheet in there that basically defines what we're looking for. We are requesting approval for carryover funds, which were granted back to us, federal funds that are given to us every year that are carried over from the previous year. We also have some funds that were unallocated at the beginning of the year that we allocated for primarily program development and state visually impaired funding. That should be outlined in the sheet. It's a total of 227 for the carryover funding, and then about 125 for the other two. So we request approval of those.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the board? Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Item 6C, FY 2017-2022, TIP Amendment 4.
Morning, everyone. Kevin Reyes, Transportation Planner here at PPACG. Today I'm going to be going over Amendment number 4 for the 2017-2022 Transportation Improvement Program. It comes to us in two different parts. The first part is coming to us from the Colorado Department of Transportation, also known as CDOT. They plan to do a safety and maintenance project along the US 24 corridor between Constitution and Garrett intersections. They plan to resurface the pavement along that corridor and reconfigure the Garrett intersection into a Florida T type intersection. They also plan to replace the signals and change existing side slopes along that corridor as well to meet the standards of the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. They also plan to reconfigure the lane shoulder and Z-slopes to help mitigate rain. And they also plan to conduct scour repair at structure I-18/BG on Troy Hill Road. If you're interested in where that structure is, I can show you where that is on a map as soon as I finish here. The second part of Amendment number 4 comes to you from PPACG staff. We are proposing to set aside some money for a regional data summit. The idea of the data summit is to bring ourselves together with our member entities to collect data in our region. And the idea is to provide our entities with any data that they might need, and also to help provide us with data that we need for the development of our 2050 long-range transportation plan. We also have a federal mandate now to collect data as part of the development of our long-range transportation plan, but this mandate is unfunded. So we are requesting the remaining funds in STP Metro in fiscal year 2017 to go towards this data summit, and that would be a total of $234,190 to go towards the data summit. The data summit will consist of data collection for for pavement condition, specifically on the collectors and above roads within our MPO boundary. And so both the TAC and the CAC have recommended Amendment number 4 for approval, and with that, I'll open up the floor for a recommendation.
Any questions, comments from the board? In our
What's a T-type?
yeah.
Oh yes, that's a good question. Yeah,
meeting ahead of time here, I said, please
Yeah.
show us what a Florida T intersection.
So my understanding of Florida T intersection, it has the left hand. The biggest difference is when you turn left, it has a dedicated auxiliary lane that's separate from the main line. So when you turn left, you have a separate acceleration lane, and so you're able to get up to speed once you get on the other side of the road, and it makes it a little bit safer to turn left. Is that correct?
That's right. It's just a free flow left turn movement from westbound to westbound to eastbound 24.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be a dedicated median in there, and essentially what you do is you eliminate one of the phases in the traffic signal, which allows more movement of the traffic through there, and it's a safer movement.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Move approval. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, Transportation Improvement Program funding policy, not one penny
Still me,
extra.
yep. So during the process of discussing and recommending policies for our upcoming TIP, the 2019 to 2024 TIP, we had several TAC members ask us to review and discuss existing policies that have already been approved by the Board of Directors. And one of the policies that garnered significant discussion was the not one penny extra policy that was already approved by the board. It's also known as the NOPE policy. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this policy was approved by the board in 2006, and the policy was aimed to discourage project sponsors from underrepresenting the cost of their projects during the project selection process, and then coming back to PPACG and asking for additional funds in the future. And so the goal was to keep the TIP fiscally constrained and make sure that project sponsors were not taking funding from other projects already in the TIP. Several TAC members expressed some concern with this policy, and they one of the main concerns is that it's very difficult for project sponsors to accurately forecast the price of a project when it's in future years. There's a lot of volatility with that, and so it's very, very difficult to accurately forecast that. Also, at the TAC meeting, there was some discussion that project sponsors no longer benefit from underrepresenting the cost of a project during the scoring process because we have removed one of the criterion specifically for overmatch. This criterion said that if a project sponsor provides extra overmatch, they would receive extra points during the project scoring process. So we have removed that, but one important note about the project scoring process is that we still do have the cost effectiveness criterion, which would be affected if a project sponsor were to underrepresent the cost of a project. And then the last thing I should mention is the board is always able to create waivers in case a project does experience a cost overrun. In your memo, I did outline one specific example of that under the previous board action section. During the 2016 to 2019 TIP, many projects experienced significant cost overruns. This was during the Waldo Canyon fire. And so this TIP added one additional year of funding, but did not add any new projects. And they used all that funding to help pay for any cost overruns for projects already in the TIP. One thing that we did here was we created a list of alternative policies to the NOTE policy if we want to consider those. And so I can briefly run through those real fast and say exactly what was recommended by the TAC and the CAC. The first was set aside a pool of money that can be used for cost overruns. The second is do a call for projects every year, but only for the fourth year of the TIP. The third is project sponsors cancel a lower scoring project and use those funds for cost overruns on the higher scoring project, with remaining funds returned to the regional pool. The fourth is project sponsors fund the design and environmental phase of a project locally and then submit the project to PPACG for federal funding to cover the right-of-way and construction. And the fifth is adopt CDOT's cash management advanced construction policy, which takes funds from future years and moves those funds forward. The sixth is project sponsors reduce the scope of work to accommodate the cost overrun. And the seventh is continue the existing NOTE policy. Now, the TAC has recommended that the board discontinue the NOTE policy and adopt policy number 5, which says adopt CDOT's cash management advanced construction policy, and adopt policy number 6, which says project sponsors reduce the scope of work, which allows project sponsors to reduce the scope of work. The CAC has recommended that we continue the existing NOTE policy, and PPACG staff recommends that we continue the existing NOTE policy. So with that, I will open up the floor for further discussion and the recommendation.
Any questions, comments from the board? Yes.
Number 6, can you say that again, please?
Yes, and also these are in attachment number 1. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. Number 6 says project sponsors reduce the scope of work to accommodate the cost overrun.
Yeah, I'm concerned about some of the smaller cities might not have the ability to get the project ready, and that might slow it down. So I'm not sure that's a real viable option, number 6. Just my opinion.
Can we hear from the TAC and CAC on The recommendations, and they're here.
Yeah, we have the TAC, and they just happen to be here.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board. Jennifer Irvin, TAC Chair.
TAC Chair.
My apologies. This morning, I just wanted to give you the understanding of the TAC recommendation. The TAC has been concerned about this note policy for some time. As you heard some of the background, this was created to solve a problem that really no longer exists. Now we have, instead of that one major criteria creating most of the scoring, cost-effective is one of 13 criteria, I believe, 13 criteria. So it really doesn't allow member entity governments to really inflate or create a higher scoring project by underestimating, and it really isn't to our benefit. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that when these projects are submitted, many times we have, they're very early in the concept phase. There's no design. There's nothing done. So many times we do the best that we can for these estimates, but sometimes when we get into the design, we run into items that are needed to be included in the design and therefore cost extra. The second point is that we have a market here that has become very volatile as far as cost, and so we're trying to respond to those costs. Another item is that CDOT is able to come back to you, and as you have seen many times, when they run into cost overruns, they come back to you and ask for additional. What I can tell you as a member government myself is that we don't like and will not come back to you unless we need to for more money. That's not any member government entity's goal. And then second of all, we have a whole lot of federal rules, regulations, and policies. Why are we adding something extra for all the member governments to meet?
Good morning. Kathleen Krager, City Traffic Engineer for City of Colorado Springs. I have to agree with everything that Jennifer just said. This is creating a lot of problems, and the volatile costs are really catching up with us on being able to project a project that may be 4 years or more out as far as federal funding and get a truly good cost estimate when we haven't done the design yet. But I wanted to point out a couple big projects that I think you all pretty much like that would not have survived the note policy here within PPACG if we were doing them as a local jurisdiction policy on TIP. And that would be Cimarron Interchange, the Fillmore DDI, the A&D lanes on Woodman, A&D lanes on Powers, the widening of Powers from Platte to Fountain. None of those things would have survived. And locally, the Colorado Avenue, Manitou Avenue project would not have survived. This is a policy that we are only looking at on our TIP projects, not on any other form of funding that we're doing. And I think it really hurts our ability to wisely use the federal dollars that are available to us. Thank you.
Casper?
Good afternoon, or good morning, Craig Casper. It's not afternoon yet. I have to take a little bit of umbrage with would not have survived. The board always has the opportunity to put money back in. Every time projects have come to the board to ask for more money, the board has approved it. And if we need to get more money, where does it come from? Do we set aside a pot of money that we don't pick projects against, or do we cancel a project? Who decides which project to cancel? So, getting rid of the no policy brings up a whole lot of other issues. So,
Mr. Chair, my name is Kevin Walker. I'm the second vice chair of the Community Advisory Committee, and we also heard this item. I just wanted to briefly comment that the prevailing argument for us, and we supported that not unanimously, but it was voted in favor of keeping the policy, was that very argument that Craig just discussed, and that is we think the additional discipline early on in a project is not hurtful, and that all of these major projects have survived, and we figured out how to do them without the policy being modified. So that was the Community Advisory Committee's input, and appreciate the opportunity.
if I could kind of summarize all that, the policy really hasn't been all that much in effect anyway. Is that not true?
Jennifer Irvin, and I'll speak today as county engineer now. I would say for our local agency projects, it has been true. And the one time that we have come back and asked for extra money, it took us 6 months to a year to get that money back into our project. So the county and the city had to delay some projects because we really confronted a lot of concerns through PPACG and with PPACG staff on trying to get these projects moved forward. And we had some projects, I believe both of us, that have been delayed as a result of this into trying to get back into the tip. I think that we have to be, and we as member governments are always looking to spend or to save money on all these federal dollars. For example, the county has actually designed some of these projects in-house and not asked for reimbursement for staff. We could. So we've done a lot of work to make sure that we're fiscally conservative as much as possible. And I think if we come back to you ever with asking for additional funds, we better have a good reason. And so while staff says, yeah, there's the way to do a waiver for the note policy, yeah, we were able to do that here in the last tip, but it was not easy, and it was a result of probably 6 months to a year work by the member government entities to get that even in front of you to be able to make a vote on it.
Jennifer?
I'd love to hear, Jennifer, the tax view on options 5 and 6. Those were, first of all, CDOT's cash management accounting policy, which takes funds. So essentially, is this proposing that you would take, for example, El Paso County's projects and cannibalize those? So, what are you thinking?
So, and speaking as the TAC chair then now, as adopting the cash management, that's what we suggested. I know that CDOT may not be ready for that, but we'd really like to do that because I think that makes the money more flexible, and that's what CDOT's able to do now with many of their projects. And then was the other one 6?
Project sponsors reduce the scope of work.
And we're always open to that, and we're always doing that. If we need to, if we find out that something's $10 million and we only have 5, we're going to have to figure out, I mean, that's not something we're going to come back to you on usually. We're going to have to figure out how to either reduce the scope, how to pay for that ourselves. I mean, I guess the point is that member governments here are not going to come back because any additional dollars that we take could go to another project that we have down the line and in the tip and we want to go. So we know that we need to be as fiscally conservative as possible, and we have come back and reduced scope.
Okay, so 5 asks you to salvage your own project.
Mm-hmm.
6 asks you to limit the cost, and then option A, that'd be A, B, and then C would be, okay, these 2 options don't work for us, board, what do you think? Now I need to go back for the waiver. So the question is, 5, 6, and this waiver are actually in the no policy now.
No, it just says not 1 penny extra. If there's cost overruns, you local agency, you member government, you are going to have to figure out how to fund that.
Isn't that what 5 and 6 are?
No.
Because one of them is finding another project that's not one. Total doesn't go up, but the project, one project may go up, but the total tip doesn't change. So,
The cash management is to be able to move funds around, and maybe Mark can address that a little bit better. But the cash management, but CDOT projects are able to do that, not local agency projects.
We do that just with our construction funds. Really, and we have a rigorous accounting process where we have the drawdown schedules, and we have to enter and update monthly our cash drawdown so that we don't run out of money. So you've got to implement that. I'm wondering if there's a hybrid, because with local agency projects, you do introduce the complexity of the agreement process and moving money between IGAs, which can, as we know, it can be very difficult. But I wonder if there's a hybrid there that the county could look at to be more flexible, to be able to move money around to position it so they get projects out the door, essentially, is what you're trying to do.
And that's what we all want to do. So I think, as the TAC, in getting rid of the note policy, they suggested to work with CDOT to look for how we can either get to a cash management policy like CDOT has, or do something, which was what Mark says, a hybrid. And now as far as reducing scope, we would do that anyway. That's not even part of the note policy today. So that's always something that's always open. I mean, when we have these projects and we have issues, we go through a whole range, just like CDOT does, of value engineering, looking at, how that could be paid for something else. But the note policy essentially says, not one penny extra. If you have cost overruns or you have issues, that's the local agency's issue.
And my question, Jennifer, is whether or not 5 is enough flexibility, if that would be a suitable replacement for note. Are you okay with 5? Is the TAC okay with 5?
Correct, yeah.
It is, okay. And here comes Greg.
Sorry. So what the cash management would allow is you can spend money within the next 4 years. So in 2017, we can spend 17, 2018, 2019, or 2020 money. That's what, with the 2016 to 2019 tip, what took 6 months was figuring out where to, because you had to pull money into the early year and then push a project back, and that's where the negotiation came in. Cash management says, you know what, we're not going to spend it all in 2017. Some of it will be spent in 18 or 19, so it lets you spend that money, advance your construction costs. And so that's what it does, is it prevents having to jockey, move a project back, move a project forward to do. And CDOT does it with their funds pretty effectively.
I'd be willing to adopt 5, move towards 5, but I wouldn't know what the policy would be.
Yeah.
Well, and the in order to actually have there be extra money, then what we do is not have projects for the 4th year, so there's actually a pool of money there instead of have it into a project. Because once you put it in the tip in a project, then you're locked into that. There's no money available for cost overruns. So then we need some sort of set aside 25% of money in the 4th year as a contingency, and then when you move into the 3rd year, then you can put that onto a project. So it just...
Assuming there's actually money in the 4th year.
Right.
Yeah. Commissioner Clark?
I just need a clarification. I think Commissioner Steen asked that too. Is it this attachment 1 that we're talking about? Jennifer, where are you? With regard to what the TAC is requesting? Is it all of those things, or is it a component of those? I'm a bit confused.
Well, originally when this was discussed, the TAC had just recommended, there was discussion at our TAC of just getting rid of the note policy altogether. But there was some discussion that, there may be something that we need to replace it or do better. So at that point, we included allowing the cash management. We wanted to do that, but also then to allow project sponsors the ability to rescope projects.
Okay, so on this list, if we're looking at this list right now, what do you want to be, if we were to make a motion, theoretically, what numbers would you like to be included in that?
Well, I think you need to look at the recommendations on it's not quite what those are. Our recommendation were to discontinue the note policy and adopt CDOT's cash management advanced construction policy, and allowing project sponsors to rescope future projects to free up funds.
So that's number 5 on...
Well, 5 and kind of 6. 6 says reduce scope, but...
It's not exactly what you're recommending.
That, our recommendation was to rescope, so...
All right, so I'm still not, and I guess I'm just still not clear, so...
on the previous one.
And I, yeah, but it's all intermixed, I guess, with this. And I just want to be clear, if we're changing the policy, I want to be clear what we're changing the policy to.
Right.
And I don't, am I wrong, or am I just not seeing it in here? Maybe I'm just getting blind in my old age. I can't tell. But.
Mayor Nicoletta? Okay.
Because I'm ready to make a
Trustee
motion. I just
Stevens?
need to know what the motion needs to be.
Let me walk around here.
I remembered.
I think the TAC was recommending to adopt CDOT's cash management policy and allowing project sponsors to rescope future projects.
I'm interested in exploring this further, but I think we need further information. I would like to see the existing note policy as it was approved prior to us changing it, making sure that we understand what we're replacing and taking away. Secondly, I want to see the wording of CDOT's cash management advanced construction policy so we know what we're adopting rather than just by reference, and I'd like clarity as to what exactly is being proposed rather than a list of 7 items that we're sort of adopting.
I'll second that.
With that, I'd move to table this till next month.
I see anybody else? Have a motion and a second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I think the ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
6E, public participation, Title VI, and limited English proficiency plans.
Good morning, Jennifer Valentine, Transportation Planner with PPACG. So the Title VI Limited English Proficiency and Public Participation Plans went out for a 45-day public comment period following the board's recommendation at the September 14th meeting. These plans were available for public comment through the end of October. We did not receive any comments, so no changes have been made to the plan documents. We have a joint recommendation from the TAC, the CAC, and PPACG staff to approve the plans as presented.
Okay. Any questions?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good job. Proposed schedule and methodology for 2015 moving forward, R2P.
Good morning again. We are proposing to use FHWA's PlanWorks process for developing the 2050 plan. This is the same process we used for the 2040 plan and the previous 2035 plan. It's been renamed. It used to be called TCAP, but that wasn't marketable apparently. The first step in FHWA's plan is actually approving the process. So that's what we're here to do, is ask approval. You will still see the same incremental improvements as we go through the process. First step is releasing the goals. We'd like to do that in January for then adoption in April. So you'll still see the incremental approvals as we go through the 2050 plan process. I can show you what some of those steps. It's a 15-step process. And first step is step 1. Here it proceeds clockwise around. We are aiming for adoption, step 16, in November of 2019. What we hope to accomplish in 2017 is adopt the vision and goals, approve evaluation criteria, identify deficiencies in the region relative to those adopted goals, and begin identifying a solution set of needs along the priority corridors. That's for the next year. Are there any questions on the proposed PlanWorks process?
Any questions, comments?
CAC and TAC all recommended adoption.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adopt.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Escape.
Thanks, Craig. You're up next, aren't you?
Nope. Yes.
CDOT Region 2, RPP.
And this, I guess, Mark, if you want to. I will try to get this.
I'm sorry, we are G?
Yep.
If you'll go to...
Release of the RPP projects for public comment.
Right. And I just want to be real brief. My voice is about ready to go anyway. If you'll go to the last spreadsheet, it should say 2020 to 2025, 6-year plan. And it's the back sheet. And you'll see all the planning regions there, but the very last planning region is PPACG. I think that's the last plan. Well, it's the last on that page, so it looks like this. And you'll see there's 2020, under 2021, we have the faster safety and RPP This is going to be very basic because we have really just one project that we're looking at, adding RPP funds. A lot of the RPP funds have already gone into projects like Cimarron, Powers, and Fillmore. Essentially what the request was about a year ago was to look at operational improvements between Colorado Springs and Fountain, and to use that $1.5 million of RPP for that purpose. We have taken a look at our operational improvements. They are an option, but we think a better option would be to get shelf-ready, a widening project from Academy down to Academy up to Circle, and that's the remaining widening section to complete the environmental document, to go from 4 lanes to 6 lanes. So use some of that $1.5 million for that purpose. Again, that's a PPACG priority. And what we'd like to do is go out this spring with a request for a consultant hire and possibly start that project next summer and have that potentially shelf-ready in about 2 years. So if money fell out of the sky, it gives the board another option to fund another widening project on the south side of Colorado Springs. In addition to that, we are doing a white topping project that goes from Academy down to Fountain for both lanes. And a white topping essentially is a surface treatment project where we'll go down and mill some pavement off and add some concrete pavement on top of that. We'll get a longer life out of that pavement section, potentially up to 30 years. So it's a very cost-effective project. It's part of our asset management program that's already funded. But with that said, what will end up when we finish this white topping project is we'll have to over-widen I-25 on one side to accommodate both lanes. So essentially, we're going to have to close one lane of traffic, shift all the traffic, 4 lanes on one side, and overbuild it for this white topping project. Big project, but what we'd like to do is at the end of it, it's a little complicated, and we can come back with more information later, but at the end of that project, we're going to have a widened road that could accommodate 6 lanes from Academy down to Fountain. And so what we'd like to look at is maybe use some of those funds, this $1.5 million, to maybe start another PEL study to extend the EA because it ends at Academy and go all the way down to Fountain with a 6-lane wide. So so we're strategizing some ideas here. With that said, we do have the limits between Colorado Springs and Fountain, and we intend to use that money within those limits. And we'll come back to the board with more information to be more specific in terms of the TIP and STIP process. So if we use the money for the widening project from Academy down to Circle, or Academy up to Circle, we use some of that to jumpstart that project and then potentially maybe an environmental document in the future. Craig's got a question.
This didn't come up in the CAC or TAC meetings, so
It came up in the CAC meeting.
What we talked about was the just release of the project list for public comment. So
right. So to be very, very brief on this, the 1.5 million for 2021 is going towards that project.
okay, what is in the list for public release is 1.5 million for an operations study.
Correct. And that's where we don't think that that's it's a good use of that fund. So we don't think that an operational study will necessarily benefit that.
Okay.
So we'd like to, we can either table the request, or we can come back in the future with more specifics on what we think we ought to do with the funding.
Jennifer Irvin, PPACG TAC. Chair, we did not discuss this at our last TAC meeting, but we did discuss it at the previous one. And while we did not vote on it, there was a lot of head nods around the table that said that we thought that this made sense. We're trying to plan for the future so that we don't have on the south part of I-25 what we didn't plan for very well in the north part of I-25, and now we're behind the 8 ball.
Jennifer, if you could clarify, you had a lot of head nods about that project or about the study?
About looking at what Mark mentioned, and to try to plan for the future in regards to trying to put some money into the PEL, or a future PEL.
And just to be clear, I think we can come back with some more information on some better use of it. We would definitely like to get the Academy to Circle project on the shelf, and maybe all the money goes towards that. We know we're going to be short to get that to final design. We may get it to a 30% design, and if money came along, we may turn it over as a design-build project and fund the remainder as a design-build. Nevertheless, we need to get moving on that project because it is on the 10-year capital list as a Tier 1. It's on the PPACG board priority list, and this is a good use of that money. Now, we can have further discussion about another PEL or environmental document to extend further down to Fountain. But at some point, we want to look at, as we're going to do that white topping project, we're going to have a 3-lane roadway when we stripe it back to 2 lanes in one direction when we're done with that job. So, some options.
Mr. Heisey?
Just to Jennifer's comment about looking towards the future, I drive that road every day, and the future is now. We already have serious congestion every single morning through that stretch, so I fully support. Let's get something going on that, so if money does fall out of the sky, which those of us that have been around for a little while, we've seen that happen. No funding, no funding, no funding, we get that. But when there is funding, it goes to those projects that are ready.
As Jennifer said, we did talk about it the previous month. What I would suggest is to release the list as it's shown for public comment, and then as the public comment, have CDOT give us information on, instead of an operation study, let's do X, Y, and Z. That way we're doing what the CAC and TAC said, which release it for public comment, and then we'll show that we're responsive to comments, we'll get additional information in that can then get that going.
Mr. McDonald?
Thank you. And then the concluding, this will eventually turn into a TIP amendment for approval through the committees and up through the board. Correct. Yep. You get 2 more shots at this one.
Oh, I just had a question in the fact that if this is put in, it doesn't have any impact on any of our other projects. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, it wouldn't, and I just throw that out there it wouldn't affect the I-25 south, exactly, south, north, whatever you want to call it. It's south, it's north for us and south for Douglas County, but we'll call it the gap.
Yeah, we have money set aside in this plan. We've added money to that project, and we've dedicated other additional funds that could go towards that study. Right now, they don't need money to finish that study, but if the board wants to,
Well, I love the study. I want the project done, so.
we can add more money to
Now you
help
got to
the
study
design.
before you can do the project, but I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any crossover there between funding. Okay, thanks, Mark.
When you say down to Fountain, can you be real specific? Because some people consider that 135, 132, 128.
128.
So, okay, you did to 128? Okay, because, yeah, I would like to second Commissioner Heisey's people trying to get to work or onto the base. It's quite a struggle, but the one on Academy could assist that also. But it does get to be quite the stall regularly every morning. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah, I like Craig's suggestion, and it sounds like, Mark, you're okay with that, right? Putting it out to public comment and then bringing a little bit more information?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that sounds good, personally.
Mark, could you kind of walk us through the logic on the RPP allocation for 2020?
Sure.
Only 1 million. I know it's only 2 miles. Is that the reason why it's only 1 million and not more?
I'm sorry, what?
The I-25 PEL study for Monument, 1 million allocated for RPP. I'm on the same page. Just move left the column and down 3 lines. I-25 PEL study for Monument, 1 million by a larger number. I want to see a hardware too. And 4 million for a smaller, much smaller PPL.
So what we think is, well, we've talked to Region 1 in terms of their study. That we actually gave them $500,000 of that million to go towards their $3.5 million study. The study is fully funded. If the board wishes, they can use that other $500,000 towards that project as well to help start the design on that project. So we're using that kind of as a placeholder. Well, it is 2020, so it is in the step to go towards that project. So, but they've only budgeted $500,000, or in the process of budgeting $500,000 right now, because that's all they need to finish the study. So, again, another $500,000 is available to give to them to start the design on that. And that's been some of the discussions with Region 1.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're giving it proper attention, because we declare both here and then the delegation, this is going to be our top project.
Right.
Okay. So I'm getting the consensus there that if we go ahead and release this for public comment, we address the issues here through public comment, and will not delay doing anything for that. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, would it be in order to make a comment on the gap issue?
Yes.
So I'm Rocky Scott. I'm your new transportation commissioner for District 9, which is Teller, Park, El Paso, and Fremont counties. I've been traveling around just to get a sense of where we are. So I'm an engineer, I'm a systems guy, and I want to know what the causalities are. So we all know what we want. The question is, what does it take to get there? I don't think there's any question, but I'm just expressing my opinion. There is a strong current and a growing consensus around the state that this project needs to be done. We heard it from the Park County Commissioners. We heard it and it was interesting to me how interested they are in the Cimarron I-25 project. You think they're far away, but it's sort of a recognition that it is a system. It's a complex system, and we're all tied to it. So I don't think there's any question about the need. The letters are important. Dr. Cog is clearly I think we've had this issue, who really owns this project, which is mostly outside of El Paso County. But there is a growing sense of the broad statewide ownership of it. So then you say, if we have consensus, now what? The answer is we don't have any money, and everybody knows that. So the question is, how do we get money? And my personal assessment is this is going to be one of these really difficult times where all of you have been in conversations about there isn't enough money for water storage, there isn't enough money for K through 12, there isn't enough money for higher ed, there isn't enough money for filling the blank. And so among the choices are, well, let's just bite the bullet and quit spending money on other things and instead put them into transportation or get some new revenue or whatever. My assessment is that and there's probably information I'm not aware of, but every proposal I've heard, whether it's hospital provider fees or state gas tax or state sales tax or anything like, there is a constituency who thinks that whatever solution you propose is not okay. So at the end of the day, this isn't, in my view, again, a transportation or CDOT issue. It is an issue of sort of the public policy associated with how you allocate scarce resources to a lot of very, very defensible, important projects for the quality of life of the people in our state. And one of the comments I made to the Park County Commissioners is please stay in close touch with particularly your state legislators about the need for a solution. It's going to require some artful statesmanship. There's no doubt about that. But if we can find a way, all of us, to work together and say this is a priority. And we talk a lot about economic development, and I'm an ED guy. But at the end of the day, I'm frankly more concerned about safety and can we get an emergency vehicle to where it needs to be. And then the economic part obviously falls out. But that's personal. So thank you for the opportunity to take some time. And I'll give you updates as I learn them. But this is a very complex problem, probably more complex politically than technically. I'm very impressed with CDOT and its technical abilities. But at the end of the day, CDOT doesn't decide where the money's coming from. It decides how to prioritize, given the input from bodies such as this.
Okay. Thank you. We're just going to press through the meeting. If anybody has to take a break, take a break. We'll just run through. CDOT monthly update.
I'm going to have Dave Watt come up, but before we jump into Cimarron, I did hand out a flyer for a public meeting coming up on I-25, the GAP project, Monument to Castle Rock. I just want to let the board know we're actively involved in that project. We've got representation. We appreciate the county and the city being involved in that project. We've got our working group stakeholders meeting, and we've got our technical committees that we've set up. So we're moving forward with that project. Some good news to report on that project. The team has recommended to finish the study in 18 months rather than 24 months, so they think they can accelerate the project. So some good news. What we've also been talking about is getting the design going to essentially get a 30% level design towards the end of that study, or more maybe shortly after that. What we'll do is we'll take the preferred alternative and we'll do a 30% design on that, and that will allow the project to be adopted as a design-build project potentially if money does come along. So there's some strategy, some thoughts being thrown out there to try to accelerate the project and get it ready potentially as a design-build project if we do have money. So this idea of it's going to take 10 years, well, the team does not want to get that message out, nor do we want to sit around and wait and have it be 10 years before we have something ready to go. So I think there's a conscious effort to move that forward. Just a brief summary on other construction projects before we get into to Cimarron. We are going out with two projects, the US 24 Constitution we talked about. We are going out with a bridge preventative maintenance project in El Paso County, which we've done similar to address some of the concrete decks, that we would like to go ahead and do some surface treatment on those to extend the life of those bridges. It's a preventative maintenance effort that we think will pay dividends in the long term if we seal those decks. So you'll see some work out on Powers and some more on I-25, and we've got one bridge down in Pueblo. And we'll put that out. We did have a successful public meeting on our US 24 PEL study, and thank you, Turner, for coming to that. And then we did get some good comments. That's our second public meeting on that. So we're progressing towards an alternative on that, a recommended alternative. So that study has about another year left to wrap that up. And again, that's going to give some good opportunities for safety improvements and maybe a potential widening project. So that's all I had. One more project. The Manitou Springs project, the resurfacing project. We had a delay on that because of a storm sewer problem. We're probably going to have to delay the project and finish paving next spring, and I think we've communicated that to the town of Manitou. But I think we want to be able to fix that drainage problem that we have at that intersection and not walk away from that. So I've instructed my staff, even if we delay it till next spring, let's make sure we fix that drainage problem so we don't have to come back with another project, which we would have to do. So. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Dave, unless there's any questions.
If I could, on the I-25 PEL, PEL, whatever it is, I've attended those, and from our perspective down here, we think we're talking about the gap. When you actually talk to CH2M, the consultant on this, they are very careful to stress that they are looking at it from Monument all the way to 470 up there. And the gap is just one of many things they will be making recommendations on. And if we don't stay involved in this, we could, and they're also very careful to say they're not jumping to a conclusion that we need to add a third lane. So if we don't stay involved in this from the southern part of this study, we stand a chance of being the last part of any money that might be spent. So I find what you say encouraging, really appreciate it, but I think it's important that we stay involved, and that won't be me from this point forward, so.
It's interesting because I've heard those comments too, but in sidebar conversations, I think everybody agrees the gap is the number one priority. I would say almost everybody. So,
Let them, have they been down there while there's an accident and they wait in traffic for hours? That will cure them.
oh, absolutely, and I think there's been some testimony that's gone around the table about personal experiences. So, but I agree with you. We need to be involved and really push for looking at that widening as the number one project that comes out of that study. But we'll have to let the process play itself out.
Absolutely.
We could appoint you as the citizen representative. Mr. Smith?
Mr. Chairman, would you consider asking for volunteers that would attend the Bell 25 meetings and make sure that we're represented at those meetings?
Absolutely.
I'm already attending.
We do have people. I've attended a couple of these too.
Mr. Heisey, possibly not.
There are several at the table, including some legislators that get it.
Oh, yeah.
So the public meetings are also executive steering committees, of which I and Andy are both members, so.
Oh, yeah. We have visibility. Okay? Anything else?
Dave Waltman of Marks, resident engineers in CDOT Region 2. I'll be brief about the I-25 Cimarron project. We do remain on budget and on schedule. We have passed what we're calling the midpoint of the project. We had a good stakeholder outreach and some good board representation. Transportation Commissioner Rocky Scott also attended, and a number of the business communities that are being impacted in city and county staff. Again, we're past the midpoint, well past 50% of the funds spent. You've got the November-December newsletter there that kind of highlights the bridge demolition and the traffic switch that occurred late October, early November. So I think we're used to driving on the west half of the interstate, what will be the northbound lanes. They were restriped nicely, and as we approach the winter months, we're observing some problems with that sun glare. That is a bit of a challenge, but as we also hit the winter months, that paint tends to wear off. So once you know that we have done some striping this past Saturday afternoon on the edge stripes in between Bijou and Nevada Tejon, and it's a little bit more challenging to pick our spots with the water-based paint, but we will be touching up the striping as weather and some traffic permits. We're no longer really able to do that work at night. With the temperatures that we don't have, so we are trying to schedule that work in to get some areas where we can touch up. As we get later into the winter and the sun rises up a little bit, some of that problem will go away. But those are some challenges we recognize with the pavement markings and some delineations. This also refers to some nice stories about the partnerships. That's one of the things this project has been successful in. One of the minor ones, but I think a good one, it mentions in the newsletter, is the reuse of the pedestrian bridge that was going over Monument Creek and is now safely in the trails for the Pikes Peak Humane Society on the west side there. You will also upcoming see some more trail improvements, improving the access into the America the Beautiful Park. We will get the bridge out of Kathleen's backyard where the City of Colorado Springs has purchased a bridge and allow it to be stored. Your backyard, is it ready to move?
I almost have the last
Okay. That is one of the local contributions from the city has been a replacement of a pedestrian bridge that will be going in these upcoming months. 5 bridges are in various stages of construction right now, with us wrapping up the Cimarron Bridge that goes over Fountain Creek and into downtown Coral Springs. The team, Kramer and CDOT, are anxious to start to put traffic on that here in the next few weeks. So it'll be another new look and feel, if you will. The interchange areas opened up quite a bit as we knocked down the old bridge, and you can see the wider spans and the more length of the new I-25 structures that are underway. With that, there's still some good added value coming up ahead with the quadrant intersection that will help alleviate some of that congestion at 24 and 8th that's still out there ahead. And we will continue on moving forward. And in honor of your time, I'll ask if there's any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner?
Rocky Scott again. That's the first project update meeting I've been to. It was absolutely remarkable to me how around the room, every person there representing every community interest was it was unanimously appreciative of CDOT's work and the effort it put into reaching out to create these partnerships. So very impressive, and I commend you for your work.
I just wanted to, if I might, just give kudos to just the good communication that you've had, I think, with the folks at Drive. That, I mean, sometimes the lanes get switched all of a sudden, and keeping that restriped, I know, is a considerable challenge for you. But in general, there's probably been a few accidents, but in general, keeping that open has been extremely important, Dave. And I just want to say to all of CDOT, incorporating 8th Street into that whole project will be certainly beneficial, because we thought maybe we'd only get a part of it done, and now it looks like we're going to get really the whole shebang. So thank you for all the work you're doing, and we look forward to wrapping that project up sometime in 2017.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stack. Yep. Just a couple things. The Stack meeting was held 2 weeks ago Friday. I want to give it two projects are underway on funding, transportation funding initiatives. These are not funding proposals, but information collection that'll kind of inform the process. And as our commissioner said, it's really a complicated process. So first one of these was the road usage charge pilot program. This was discussed at STAC at some length. Craig Casper and I are both members of that pilot program, one of 100 people in the state of Colorado to actually test the technology would go into collection. But as you know, with higher mileage vehicles on the road, we're collecting less gasoline tax. So the proposal here is to look at an alternative way, and that's assessed not by gasoline purchased, but by miles driven, how many miles you drive. The plan is to assess a flat about a 1.3 cent per mile on every vehicle under 10,000 pounds of gross vehicle weight. That would produce about a revenue neutral today, but as you go forward, as you get higher mileage vehicles on the road, that is an increasing revenue stream rather than a declining, dying revenue stream as gasoline tax. So three ways of collecting that mileage. One is simply take a snapshot of the odometer in your car, send it in to somebody, and they enter that, and we keep track of total miles driven on that vehicle, on your VIN, that one vehicle. Second way is to actually do it electronically. Plug a device into on your dashboard. When your mechanic does that, he plugs something in now, and will just transmit total mileage driven no matter where you go. State of Colorado, New Mexico, total mileage reported. A third method is a GPS-enabled device that tracks where you're driving. Whether you're driving in Colorado, not in Colorado. State roads, not state roads. All that's possible. This model does have a way. The proposal is you would have an account with the state of Colorado, and you'd be billed month by month for miles driven on the last two models there. So that model simply designed to inform the process. The pilot is underway, and I don't know. It's an interesting process. I can go into my cell phone. I can tell how many times I've started my car today, and how many times I've braked hard, where my car is at this moment. So I took the most aggressive model so that my constituents can tell it wasn't that bad. So and anyway, that's underway. Yeah, Turner.
One issue I have with that model is that you're penalized for driving an efficient car, because models under 10,000 would include
a Prius would pay the same cost per mile as an F350, same rate.
Like my brother's F550, for example, which he can go to
truck.
a 4-foot stock trailer
Yeah.
would do considerably more damage on the road, wear and tear, than my little 2006 Escape.
That's why it's a pilot.
He's paying the same amount of tax as I am. And so I don't think that's an equitable way to go about it.
Lots of other comments. How do you register? How do you tax a vehicle that's not registered in the state of Colorado? How do you tax a?
I think it would be more equitable to raise the fuel tax because his truck burns more fuel than my Escape.
The idea is that pretty soon we won't have fuel burning vehicles. That's the idea. They'll all be electric, hybrid, any number of other. So anyway, it's being evaluated. I just put it out there to let you know that the process is underway, and it's been discussed at STAC. If you have inputs, I'd love to hear your comments, and I'll take them up to the STAC. Dr. Craig, he's also a participant in the study.
I have the same GPS.
Yep, pretty awesome. Okay, secondly, this is not on STAC, but there's a second group that's been reconvened, and that's the Impact 64. Metro Mayors, Progressive 15, Action 22, and third one, Club 20. Club 20. It's a statewide consortium of both business, government leaders, and industry to evaluate, and they're proposing a study to be conducted in January. First of all, number one is to measure the sense of urgency statewide for the need to upgrade our roads. Do we need to do something about our road conditions? What's the pain level out there? Number two is let's test the waters on a couple funding streams. Vehicle mile travel, same thing as RUC. Sales tax statewide, property tax statewide, state income tax, a general fund issue. What's the public sensibilities on each of the funding streams? That's going to come back in January, and Rob and I were both there. Last week I think. Yep. And so that is another, again, just information process to inform this very complicated, knotted up process for funding our highways. So it's underway.
Yeah, one of the numbers that came out on that road usage thing was we had more revenue in 2007 than we had last year with 30% more cars and almost double the population.
More gasoline tax collected
So
9 years ago than was collected today.
Yeah.
Even though we got 30% more vehicles in the road.
And that's because of the high efficiency, and electric cars. Since electric cars are powered by coal, they don't pay gas tax. So anyway, moving on. Was there someone? Mr. Turner? Mr. Smith?
And again, your state fuel tax would come off. Your federal tax would still be on there.
This would replace.
It would replace your state fuel tax.
That's 22 cents. We still collect 18.4 federal. 22 cents state would go away, replaced by a road mileage tax. Following the Oregon model. It's already in place in the state of Oregon, if you know anybody out there.
And based on that, my tax on my Escape would go up about 33%.
Yeah, I'm skeptical that we'll figure out a way this is all going to work and satisfy everybody, but going down a pilot program to at least study it. Okay, moving on. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip over all the reports unless there's a question. You have the reports in your packet. If any, we'll go by exception. If any questions or highlights that need to be outlined. Jennifer?
I just wanted to make one comment so that you are aware. And I wasn't going to go over everything, but at our TAC meeting, we did make a recommendation to this board to approve a resolution this month to make I-25 our region's highest priority. We do not understand why this has been delayed yet another month, but we do want to make sure that that is a priority and hopefully gets passed. City and county staff discussed this in July, and then I asked for it to be on our agenda this last month, and it was placed on our agenda, and we made you a recommendation. and I hope at some point you're able to approve something. Thank you.
Excuse me, this is Gail Nels with the Mobility Coordinating Committee. Just wanted to say two things. One of our vehicles was involved in that CDOT crash and was totaled at that intersection, and I would just encourage more striping and enforcement of speeding. I mean, I'm thankful that we had a policy that we allowed passengers to ride in the front seat. Otherwise, I believe the passenger in our vehicle would have had severed legs because of the ramp structures. So, and I was just there the night before and wondering where my lane was.
Which intersection?
It was the Cimarron and I-25.
Okay.
Additionally, as a result of this accident and its effect on the agency, I did bring up at the Mobility Coordinating Committee what we thought about the safety on the roads. I had a driver quit recently because she felt that it was just an accident waiting to happen, and I questioned her, and a little bit the outcome is we are concerned that code enforcement is not happening on our local streets when it comes to running stoplights and speeding. And I would just encourage our city council members to appeal to Pete Carey about enforcing some of the laws because of the liability on agencies like ourselves, AMBACAB. I looked around the room, Goodwill, Community Intersections, Fountain Valley. We're all nodding our heads, and every day the drivers are coming in concerned for their safety and the people that they're transiting. Thank you.
I will pass that on, Chief Carey. Okay. Any other key items to bring up from the reports? Rob, is there anything you want to highlight?
Just two things. We'll have a future presentation on, we just finished our open enrollment for Medicare for our area agency on aging, so non-transportation items. Joe will bring that back once we do the analytics on the numbers and the people we serve for that. The other thing not in my report, Department of Local Affairs. They awarded us a grant, third time's a charm. We turned in that grant to get $60,000 for the joint land use study as matching funds. They approved that. Also with DOLA, they're considering a grant, I'm going to say the Chamber of Commerce and EDC have a grant request to update the statewide military study that the legislature commissioned about a year ago. So that's under consideration now. If we get that grant, I'll report back.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Information items. We got the candidates for PPACG board officers.
Yeah, Andy, I'll speak to that. We had our meeting this past week, and thank you to Mayor Nicoletta and Turner and Sharon Thompson and Mark Dettenreiter all joined. Who else? Do we have somebody on? That was it. So the five of us came up with a slate that I don't know if everybody got a copy of it, but
We had it on the screen momentarily. If we
okay.
could scroll back to that.
Scroll back to it if someone would like up there.
Yeah, it's in the memo. Probably.
There you go. So we had, clearly we had 6 people for 5 positions, and we came up with this slate, Andy for chair and Norm for vice chair, Jill Gabler for second chair, Tyler for treasurer, because I think he can't be secretary anymore, and then Mark Waller for secretary. You'll have to refresh me as to how we proceed. I know we don't have to go by the slate that we chose, but that is the one that we're recommending. What else? Anyone else from our group? It was unanimous.
All right.
Make a motion to accept the nomination.
Actually, I think we bring that back in on January.
Just vote on it in January.
Just information.
Thank you, committee. Appreciate it.
Well done.
Sure, in the stack, we opted to, sorry.
Before you consider this thing, I was present, and you will see my name up there, and I did recuse myself. In fact, I offered to leave the room. I want everybody to know, one, that I was present, but I did offer to recuse myself. So, everyone background before you go forward with it. So, with that being said.
That being said, we thought that Turner would be a great second alternate, so hopefully he's not trying to back out of that. In the meantime, we've got Norm as our primary representative, and Andy as our first alternative, and then Turner and Rob, who goes all the time, and Craig. So we have great representation, and we'll see what happens in January, but that's what we opted for.
Okay. And real quick, the Colorado Legislative Summary and 2017 Preview. We had a great process last year. I think you're going to copy-paste, right?
Same bills.
Jessica McMullen, PPACG Policy and Communications Manager. Hi, everybody. I haven't gotten to talk to you before. For the 2016 Legislative Summary, last year we tracked 76 of the 468 House bills and 217 Senate bills. We had different groups take a stance on them. We bring them to you. You guys have seen our tracker before. We'll be doing that same tracker again this year. We're asking each of our legislators one-on-one if they have any bills they'd like to share with us and if there's any information they'd like to give us. We are hearing that there is going to be a bill on I-25 widening. Its details are still being worked out, and we're hoping to get that before it's formally announced so we can look at that draft.
Okay.
Talk fast.
Just so you all know, I volunteered us to help her out in tracking, actually testifying if need be.
And that does hit a point. I mean, when there's an issue, it takes all of us to contact the legislators and possibly go up there and make the case. So it is important. It worked great last year, and we just need to keep that up. Thank you. And strategic plan RFP update.
That's me as well. Strategic Plan RFP, we did receive 3 responses to it. We did send them back a revised scope because all of their cost estimates were very high above what we had budgeted. We have now received 3 revised scopes, and we need board volunteers to review those and look for recommendations on those revised proposals. So
a source selection process. Anybody care to jump into that fray?
Review
the proposals and figure out which one we're going to grab.
Strategic plan development.
I'll be part of it.
Tyler, Nicole, and Bill?
Why are you always busting on us?
Yeah, I was going to think that Jill definitely should be at this. Yeah, and then Trustee Sears. We'll volunteer.
Okay, I've written all 4 of you down. Thank you very much. I'll be reaching out to you to help schedule a time with that. Obviously, that'll be with staff as well.
Okay, great, thanks. Member entity announcements. Easy for me to say. Any announcements, Mayor?
I don't have an announcement, but I do have a question. Why have we not seen on our agenda the resolution that Jennifer was talking about in terms of making I-25 a priority?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's something that is a high priority for us. Rob?
Yeah, as we talked about in our board prep, it didn't exist. The TAC and CAC didn't create a resolution, but we did after their meetings. So we're sending it back one cycle. Cycle, as I said earlier, starts tomorrow. So a resolution will be in their packet. I'll ask them any other details. We didn't want to put words in their mouth, so CAC and TAC will look at it. You'll have it January 11th.
Okay.
You know, I just feel the need to say that the TAC started discussing asking for a new priority list in July, telling staff that we needed to get a priority list together because when a funding is available, you have to be there with the priority list.
Right.
And asked staff to start working on that. Then we further asked them to put resolutions together. And we've received nothing. We asked this to go to the board, and instead it got pulled off of the CAC agenda. We feel it's really been unduly delayed, and this is something that needs to be taken seriously. Because without the board's recommendation, we're just staff talking to the wind.
Can I,
Yes.
Jennifer probably has something to share. because I have a copy of an email.
Jennifer Irvin, County Engineer. I would also just say that we actually, and echo Kathleen, we actually started talking about it probably even earlier than that. Specifically asked the question at our July TAC meeting, and then I actually last month asked for it to be put on our agenda, which it was, and we made a recommendation to you. We've never had a resolution. We've never worded resolutions. In fact, usually those resolutions happen at the board or even sometimes after the board, where you say, we want a resolution that says this, and staff works with the board chair or the executive committee to finalize that. So we've not done that. We made a recommendation. It was not forwarded. Even as I noticed it was not on the agenda, I asked for it to be added to the agenda, and I got a response that said no.
Commissioner?
Actually, Jennifer and I had this discussion yesterday because I knew we had already written our letter to the governor. I have, and I can, submit it however you want, but a copy of an email is dated December 8th. At its September or 17th November 2016 meeting, the PPACG Transportation Advisory Committee made a recommendation to the PPACG Board of Directors concerning the I-25 project between Monument and Castle Rock. As chair of the PPACG TAC, I'm requesting this item be included in the 14 December 2016 PPACG Board of Directors agenda as an action item. And then Rob responded on December 9th, thank you for your request. The PPACG Board packet typically is transmitted a week before the meeting, so the agenda and packet has gone out. Did not include the item of a resolution regarding I-25 to Castle Rock because there was no resolution recommended by the TAC, only the idea of one. We have drafted a resolution for this topic for your TAC meeting and the TAC members' consideration, possible modifications, and eventual recommendation to the board. The board will receive the resolution at the January 11th, 2017 meeting. I look forward to the TAC comments as a draft resolution next week. Rob McDonald. So it sounds like it's been under discussion. I know we've discussed it a couple times here just before the board. I mean, as long as a resolution was submitted within our rules of, being properly noticed, it shouldn't have been a problem adding that to the agenda. We do addendums all the time. So I don't know what the problem was. It's kind of disappointing, but, I guess it just is what it is. But, I would have liked to have been part of that discussion since Commissioner Heisey and I have been around a while, and now it'll be done after we're off the board. So that's my only issue today.
Mr. Stevens?
In that line of thinking and hoping to thwart that prior comment of after you leave, I'd move that the staff work with the chair to come up with a resolution of support for the critical expansion needs for I-25 in southern Douglas County by this board, and that the content of that resolution rings similar to the Board of County Commissioners' letter, and then we can work on the wording of it there. But I don't believe the sentiment of that support is lacking on this board, and I think that it's simply a matter of crafting some language and taking that letter from the county and put it into resolution form by this board.
Yeah, we will do that.
That was a motion to actually do it.
Second.
Thank you. So,
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Trustee Smith?
Sally, could this have been added to the agenda this morning?
Possibly. I mean, don't we have a section for addendums to the agenda?
Oh, we could.
And
but,
it's a resolution, not a it's an action item, but it's really, I guess I would say, a ceremonial resolution in some ways. So.
Yeah, but we didn't have one, though, so we didn't have a resolution.
Well,
if we need to ratify the chairman's letter, would that be appropriate?
If need be.
Next
Yeah.
board meeting?
I think we
We'll
passed
need
plenty of
to-
resolutions without ratification.
we need to have the document. So, Jennifer, was a draft provided to Rob, or?
Well, we didn't do a draft because traditionally the TAC doesn't do a draft. We leave that up to staff. We make the recommendation that there should be a resolution, and we leave that up to staff. And I would also note that my email was well in advance of 24 hours, which is required by state statute, to add that to the agenda.
Yeah, I think we should have.
This was solved.
I think we got it. It'll be done. And we'll invite you back for the
ceremonial
signing. Okay. I think last call. Any other comments? I think you all have the meeting agenda in your packets. Any other business? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
Sally and Dennis.
Yeah.
Well done, guys.
You're coming back.
Good to meet you. Come down anytime.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I've been glad to do it now. Oh, for us to just do the resolution, be silent. And then you decide. Got it? It shall be done. What was that?
Just as signature, right?
Where is our HR?
He's a restaurant guy.
Oh, Rocky, how diplomatic of you to say, keep your powder dry on raising taxes.
All right, I got it. Just keep me in mind.
I would be hesitant to do any of that.
Yeah, I know. Let's see what happens.
But it's, luckily there's a lot of shared seats, shared people between the seats. So I don't think anything is.
The affection term is dental attention. My sentiments are with you. Or is that
Something.
too much wrong one in me, I guess. Look at the two of them. Watch the two of them.
At the White House?
Yeah, that's why you got to use 610 for single line.
We'll not have the business.
No, good update on it.
DMT was taken off of the list.
Yeah.
You know we're doing the pilot project. I know. We may have a project that is.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you replace the road. If replace doesn't get out there, people are thinking that there's going to be a public. Yeah, we'll see what it means. How do you handle it?
Everybody pays and you get a refund from your seats.
Let's let her do that. We can chat about a few other things.
Sure. No, absolutely.